My name is William Lamar IV. I'm the pastor of Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C., 1518 M Street Northwest. How do we survive 2025? We survived 2025 because the divine and the ancestors gave us the strength to persevere. We survive because our mothers and fathers have forged a path through what Malcolm called the wilderness of North America, through the wilderness of Imperial America with joy, forged a path with creativity, forged a path with a commitment to fighting to ensure that every human being from every community is able to live and flourish and share the abundance that God intended. So we survived in 2025 because we are survivors, because we are a people who do not allow defeat to keep us down. Politically, we survive because we know that American democracy is yet to exist and we continue to try to create it. Economically, we survive because we understand cooperative economics. We care for one another. We are not driven by the capitalist fever dream of accumulation. We are driven to make sure that everyone is able to live as God intends. And we survive theologically because we do not believe in the God of the American empire. We do not believe in the God of white evangelical Christianity. We believe in the one God for all people, who created all people and who intends for all of us to taste what it means to know true salvation and safety, not in the next life, but in this life. What will be the fix in 2026? It won't be something that rhymes. It won't be a 3-point sermon. It won't be something that is cute, or it won't be a bumper sticker. There is no magic incantation that will allow us to get to a fix in 2026. What will happen in 2026 is if we lock arms together, if we lock arms theologically, politically, creatively, if we desire that it is best for all of us to lift the survival of the community instead of focusing solely on the survival of the individual. If we listen for what Howard Thurman called the sound of the genuine in ourselves, then 2026 will continue to be a year to place us on the trajectory of collective victory, of collective abundance, and of collective flourishing of humanity and of creation. That's how we survive 2025, and that's how 2026 will move us in the direction of fixing all of the death-dealing systems that swirl about.
I'm Dr. Karsonya Whitehead, and I'm the national president for ASALH, which is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, Carter G. Woodson's organizations. We are the keepers of Black history. 2025 was an experience. It was more than just a year. It was a resetting of the American historical narrative. What we found out in 2025 is that our vision of America, the one that many of us have been pushing for, our idea of democracy, what we have been moving this country toward, can easily be circumvented, can easily be dismantled, can easily be destroyed by who occupies the major seats of power. We have been fighting since January 20th, which I call J20th. It was on that day when all of the executive orders were signed that laid out the direction of this administration. Those of us who had read Project 2025, we had a sense of what was going to come. We just didn't know it was going to come so quickly. We have been playing this game of catch up in 2025. And survival has meant a few things, right? Because it's hard to survive the avalanche of destruction that has come our way. But we found ways to survive and even to thrive during 2025. So one thing we have done is that we've leaned into community, whether that's through ASALH, whether it's through the Washington Informer, whether it's through our D9s or our HBCUs. We have leaned into the communities that have held us, that have guided us, that have supported us, and that have been there for us. I said way back in January, look, folks, for us to survive this year, you've got to find the organizations and the institutions doing the work that you believe in, that you agree with, and you need to support them and defend them with everything you have. Give your tithes to your church and give your offerings to ASALH and any other organization trying to do the work to hold up the mantle. We found out in January that there was going to be no proclamation for Black History Month. Black History Month is something that's been set aside. It was launched in 1926 by Dr. Carter G. Woodson as Negro History Week. It became Black History Week, then Black History Month, and it wasn't proclaimed by the White House until 1976. We had already been celebrating it for 50 years before the White House proclaimed it. We got word that there was going to be no proclamation in 2025. As the president of ASALH, I said, look, we don't have to wait to be proclaimed. I can proclaim it. We don't have to wait to be recognized. I can note and set this aside. I sit in Woodson's seat. I sit in the seat where Mary McLeod Bethune has sat. I'm saying Black History Month will continue because our history is written in the wind. Our history is written in the waves. You can't stop or outrun Black history. So survival first has been about leaning into community. The second thing that we've been doing around survival is trying to get as much information that we have and sharing it with as many people as possible. I told people everybody has somebody who is following them. Use your platform to share the information that people need to have. The more folks get educated about how they can fight, the less people we have fighting against us, and the more folks we have fighting for us. So this has been a year of deep-seated knowledge production. ASALH launched our Freedom Schools, free schools across 9 of our branches. We're extending to another 14 branches for people to show up on Saturdays. You don't have to pay a tuition. You don't need a degree. You get free teaching of Black history, and then you're charged with taking this history out and telling someone else. And then the third thing I think we have done this year for survival is that we have spoken with our money. There's been an intentionality around how we are spending our money. It's not just that we're boycotting Tarjay. We have reset how we're going to spend our money. We're saying if you don't stand with us in terms of policies, practices, and procedures, then we're not going to continue to prop up your income, prop up your empire. We're not going to give our money to places that don't see us, don't support us, and don't recognize our value. I've been pushing all year, hey folks, buy small, which means go to small businesses. Buy local, support what is local to your city. Go to women-owned businesses, go to people of color-owned businesses. Buy Black, buy small, buy local, buy women, buy brown. Like, make sure that your money is speaking for you. So survival this year has been a real resetting. I think J20 caught some people off guard, and some people have been standing still, but ASALH and other organizations have been moving forward. We were prepared for this moment. We have survived more than just this moment. We have survived really strong winds in this country, and what we have leaned on is what we've learned from our ancestors and what we're now teaching to our children. So that's how we survived 2025. It was hard, but we're still standing. The same thing that happened during American slavery. It was hard, but we were standing at the end. The Civil War, it was hard. We were standing at the end. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, it was hard. We were standing at the end. The Civil Rights Movement, it was hard. We were standing at the end. Black Lives Matter 1.0, Black Lives Matter 2.0, Trump 1.0, it was hard, but we were standing at the end. We're in Trump 2.0. It will be hard, but we will be standing at the end. And then how do we make it through 2026? Like, what do we do this year to make sure that we're standing tall at the end, that we're not just surviving, but we are thriving in this here United States of America? I tell people that they need to focus on planting the trees of truth. But because what's happening on the other side is they're planting trees of lies. We have to make sure that the trees of lies will outpace what they're doing, because they can't keep up with the lies they're telling. So we need to focus on making sure the trees of truth will continue to go forward. So as they're stumbling over each other, planting the trees of lies, our trees of truth are growing strong. And then we need to train our children, teach our children, love our children, and help our children to focus on turning towards the truth and away from the lies, teaching them about who they are, telling the truth about our contributions to this country, being honest about the fact that if we are going to move beyond this moment, then we've got to be prepared. Because that idea of democracy, that's all burning down. Democracy on January 19th is not the democracy of today. That democracy doesn't exist anymore. I'm saying, since it's all burning down anyway, let's focus on building something better. Let's actually bring about a situation in this country where we have equity, we have diversity, we have inclusion, because life wasn't great for us on Jan 19th either. Like, life wasn't great for us before the inauguration. I don't want to go back to that. I am not running into a burning house trying to save something that was never a good place for us. Let it burn, and let's build out of the ashes. Let's talk about being a phoenix in this moment. 2026, I think, is going to be the ash moment, because it's been burning all 2025. I think we're going to see the ashes in 2026. And the work we have to do now is be prepared to build on the ashes. Be prepared to dig through the ruins and find the diamonds of who we are in this moment, and build stronger, build better, and make sure our community stays focused on the work we have to do. We're following Woodson's visions. We're following Mary McLeod Bethune's vision. We're following Ida B. Wells's vision. We're following Bell Hooks' vision. We're following Dorothy Ahight's vision. We're following Dr. King's vision. We have visions before us from people who have come before us. We're going to use those so that we can get prepared to leave the vision for our children. That's what survival in 2026 is going to look like. And my hope is that we're still here, we're still standing, and we can celebrate our victories on the other side. We are at war. I look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juwan Blocker, also known as the Accountability Partner. I am a local community advocate as well as an inspirational speaker. Now, 2025 has been one for the history books for sure. As I go back and I reflect as we prepare to embark in this next chapter, which is this new year, 2026, I am often reminded or find myself reflecting on how we survived everything that we had to come through and face this year. And, first and foremost, I strongly believe that we have ultimately overcame so many obstacles because of God. Nothing's possible without the belief in God, the belief in faith, right? And I know that's something that has been with me throughout this very challenging year. I also think that we all work together, right? So, during the government shutdown specifically, I've seen so many community stakeholders, so many different community leaders, so many neighbors helping neighbors, and so many folks depending on one another and giving back, whether it was a food drive, whether it was a clothing drive, whether it was picking up the phone and checking on your neighbors. I mean, that sense of unity, us coming together, is what we need beyond situations that that present themselves. And so I think that's how we all survived, with God and then helping each other and looking out for one another. Now, as we move forward in 2026, I think that one thing that this government shutdown has exposed, among so many other things, is the importance of believing in whatever you believe God has created you to do and to be here on this earth. And so what do I mean by that? I believe that we put so much emphasis, right? So much effort, so much of our strength, right? Our natural raw talents that God has created us or built in us behind jobs, behind titles, behind position. And while I understand the importance of it, I think that we also have to spend more time in 2026 also figuring out, okay, God, what specifically have you created me for and to do on this earth? Because I strongly believe that when you are walking in whatever you believe God's calling and purpose is for your life, he'll ultimately make provisions for you. And so, you won't necessarily always find yourself in a situation where you're beholden to a specific job title, a specific, pay scale. So when we have issues like a government shutdown or you lose a job, you have that personal brand, which is your legacy that you're going to leave behind that nobody can take away. And I know that's something that I have consistently been working on throughout all of these challenging times in 2025, and something that I'm focused on in 2026. And I hope to bring that same encouragement, right? That same awakening, the need and the urgency for you to build your own personal brand into 2026 as an inspirational speaker.
Hi, I'm Marc Morial. I'm proud to lead the National Urban League, the nation's largest historic civil rights and urban advocacy organization. And 2025 has been a year. In my own view, it's been punctuated by an assault on 70 years of civil rights progress. From Brown versus Board, to the March on Washington, to the Civil Rights, Voting Rights, and Fair Housing Act, ground was laid for an era of American progress towards a more perfect union, a greater democracy, when locked out communities, including African Americans primarily, were allowed to enter the mainstream in American life. That's been assaulted by a hostile Supreme Court, which has undercut the Voting Rights Act, undercut the campaign finance system, overturned Roe v. Wade, immunized the president from criminal liability and responsibility when he commits acts of corruption. This is the normal of 2025. The executive orders that challenge diversity, equity, and inclusion, the non-enforcement of civil rights laws, the dismantling of the Department of Education, the undercutting of the EEOC, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and many others. It has been an assault, but we fought back. Many have fought back to protect democracy. There have been protests in the streets. There's been litigation undertaken. There have been those that have stood in the political well, raised their voices in opposition to this assault on American democracy, civil rights, and yes, economic opportunity. We're strong and we are resilient. We are powerful. And it is only by using our power that we can and must push back against this assault on American democracy, civil rights, and economic opportunity. How do we push back? We protest, we litigate, and yes, we vote. We must use the power of the vote in 2026. We can't stop the MAGA movement, but we can slow it down. We can interrupt it. We can let our voices be heard that this is not the direction for the United States of America. Black people, in our 2025 State of Black America report, we called it a state of emergency. Notwithstanding these assaults, we remain a community that's proud and strong. We've made progress, but not enough. We've made strides, but not enough. We've had political achievements, but that is not enough, as we must work for parity in America, economic parity, political parity, and social parity. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight. The National Urban League has a call to action. We say, number one, defend democracy. Number two, demand diversity. And number three, defeat poverty. If we can keep our focus on those three things in 2026, we can make sure that we push back against this unrelenting assault on our very existence in this nation. Once again, I'm Marc H. Morial. I'm president of the National Urban League. And yes, I authorized this message.
Good afternoon. My name is Kamita Gray. I am with the Brandywine TV Southern Region Neighborhood Coalition in Brandywine, Maryland. I am here today to answer the questions as how did we survive in 2025? And I personally survived by, I think, becoming numb in 2025, that things just weren't working as they should, that our shared efforts were hitting walls. Last year tested our resolve. It showed us that effort alone isn't enough. We need direction, alignment, and a smarter way forward. So when we say it's going to be fixed in 2026, we're not just hoping, we're committing to a new approach. First, we must stop making activity for progress or mistaking activity for progress. Too much energy is spent reacting, holding another meeting, forming another task force, instead of correcting. 2026 must be the year we shift from commentary to accountability. It means implementing solutions that we've already debated. True forward moment comes from forced action, not just constant reaction. Secondly, steadfast matters, but so is knowing when to adjust. Focus doesn't mean staying stuck in strategies that aren't delivering real outcomes. If a pathway isn't working, we pivot, keeping our eyes on the goal, not stubbornly sticking to a path that isn't getting us there. That's not weakness, that's leadership. It takes wisdom to adapt and courage to change tactics we need. Third, we must realign power with impact. The best insights come from those closest to the challenge in our neighborhoods, workplaces, and everyday people, not just stakeholders. We are the system sensors. If policy and investment aren't grounded in conditions communities live in every day, failure is guaranteed in 2026. 2025 proved that. It means that communities don't just hear the plan, it helps build it. And finally, we must listen differently to communities. When we ground our actions in real everyday experience, we build solutions that last. In 2026, fix means three tangible things for us. One, clear guardrails, whether in tech housing or public safety, rules are enforced consistently. No more exceptions to erode the rules and our community trust. Clarity, clear shared expectations that everyone understands and can count on. Honesty and data. We face facts with transparency. We measure equality, access, and risk in real time. And because we can't solve problems, we refuse to see. Shared accountability and data. And then action. Progress is team effort. Everyone must contribute, not just voice, but with action. Accountability is owned, not outsourced. Two, data over denial. We don't solve problems we refuse to measure. Equality, access, risk, tracked in real time, not buried in reports. And shared accountability. Government, the private sector, and community leaders all have roles, but accountability can't be outsourced. Everyone must own results, not just narratives. So yes, it's going to be fixed in 2026, but only if that fix starts with us. Not only to see what's broken, but commit to being part of the fix. With the backbone to step up, speak up, and take action, even leading when it's hard. The path forward is making it work for all of us. It demands focus, discipline, and the courage to change what isn't delivering. Our focus must be on service, not on politics. Every elected legislator is a public servant. They must remember authority flows from the people and must be returned to them, not to party interests. Standing on our integrity is how we move forward and toward what's better for all, building it together faithfully to the commandments guided by the word. Thank you very much.
Greetings of peace. Thank you for the invitation to be here and have the opportunity to share a few thoughts as we approach 2026. A year that many are carrying into it the weight of a difficult past year, and of course, which this past year it tested our patience, our resolve, our endurance, and in some cases, it tested our faith. But as people of faith, we understand that difficulty is not the end of the story. It's often the soil from which renewal grows. And of course, that is if we are willing to learn, to adjust, and to remain steadfast. And when we say steadfastness, that doesn't mean standing still. It means standing firm in our values while remaining flexible in our methods. So if things are going to be fixed in 2026, we must have clarity of purpose, and we have to ask ourselves, what truly matters? Not what is trending, not what is the loudest, but what is right. When our focus is clear, distractions lose their power, and energy is no longer wasted just reacting, to every crisis. 2026, we can be a year of repair, but only if we choose intention over impulse, wisdom over noise, and unity over division. Again, faith. Faith teaches us that Almighty God changes the condition of a people when they are willing to change what is within themselves. And that truth, it applies not only to individuals, but to nations. Now, if we are serious about fixing what is broken, I'm gonna offer four things that these actions that I see to be essential. Number one, we must restore trust, moral clarity, and civic responsibility. Faith reminds us that freedom without responsibility leads to chaos. And it teaches us that we are accountable, not only for what we do, but for how we treat one another. Justice, compassion, truth, and mercy. These are not optional virtues. These are divine mandates. When we place human dignity back at the center of our decisions, healing becomes possible. Societies fracture when trust erodes, but they heal when people recommit to truth, accountability, ethical leadership, and mutual responsibility, and that's at every level, public and private. And because that work begins locally in our families, communities, faith institutions, and civic spaces as well. And then, of course, it radiates outwards even further. Leaders, they must serve, not inflame. And citizens must engage, not withdraw. Number two, we must invest in people, not just power. That means prioritizing education, mental health, family stability, economic opportunity. A nation is only as strong as the well-being of its people. And again, faith traditions, it teaches us that when you uplift the most vulnerable, we strengthen the whole. Number three, we must heal our divisions through dignity and dialogue. Disagreement is not the enemy. Dehumanization is. America doesn't, need uniformity. It needs mutual respect. Faith, it calls us to speak truth and to do it with compassion and to listen with humility. Healing begins when we see one another not as threats, but as neighbors, as fellow citizens, as equal members of the human family. Now, the fourth thing, we must shift from reaction to long-term vision. 2025 kept us responding to crisis after crisis. In 2026, we must plan for the future, addressing root causes, strengthening institutions, and building bridges across generations. Wisdom, not urgency, must guide our decisions. And finally, for many, hope. It felt like it was harder to hold on to. But we must reclaim hope as a moral discipline. And let us be clear, hope is an act of faith. Hope is choosing to believe that tomorrow can be better because we are willing to do better today. Prayer without action is incomplete, and action without faith is unsustainable. Those two things must walk together. When faith informs our public life, not by coercion, but by conscience, it becomes a force for justice, compassion, and unity. So when we say it's going to be fixed in 2026, no, we're not speaking wishfully, we are speaking faithfully. We are affirming that with God's guidance, disciplined effort, and a renewed moral compass, what is broken can be repaired, what is divided can be reconciled, and what has been lost can be restored. It will be fixed by steady hearts, courageous leadership, engaged citizens, and a renewed commitment to the values that call us to our highest selves. So, the future of America is not something we wait for. It is something entrusted to us, and we are being called to shape it and to shape it together. Thank you, and our best regards to Let's Talk Win TV in the new year. Thank you.
Where do you come to get all your news? Washington forward. Where do you